Alright, let's get this on a roll. Pop it out. Chat. Hey, Bunty. Hey, bite. Okay, so we're at a 1706. This is another unofficial. And I don't know what's wrong with it. It just showed up. Good job, Jason. I'm supposed to put description of what's wrong with it other than it don't work. Ooh, that just reminds me, I actually haven't cleaned down my workbench. I've been doing iPhone repairs galore today. Actually, it was a surprisingly busy day doing iPhone repairs. It's pretty much how my business runs, is that during the day, it's PCs, iPhones, all that sort of stuff. And then during the night, I do software development and Macbook repairs. Mostly because both of those things really do require, or at least for me anyway, require you having sort of a dedicated time to do it, as in minimal interruptions as possible. That said, tonight I will have to be interrupted because I'm kind of alone tonight, and I've got to keep checking on the fur kids because two of them decide they want to stay out late tonight, so I better put my 15-minute timer on here. Start. So when that goes off, I gotta scoot out and check on them. Hey, Carrot Dog, Bob, John, Christian. Alright, so let's put some power into this and see what we might get. Okay. Hopefully my power cables behave better tonight. I think there might be a problem with the quality of the connectors I've used. Seems like they're fatiguing a little sooner than I expected, which is not good. See, so 5 volts, 30, 20, 30, 20, 0. It's okay. I'm really hoping this is going to be a short circuit of just from corrosion down on the side here. Could be wrong, but fingers crossed. Because I still haven't solved last night's. Someone did leave a good comment about what to check for last night's, but I haven't had a chance to get around to that. And I've run out of slots in my queue bay, so I have to sort of try and clear out a couple of things now before I can take on any more jobs. Like this, how many have I got there? 4, 12, 24 slots in this queue, and they're all packed. A couple of them are actually double packed. So yeah, kind of need to get jobs out before I take more jobs in. Hey, Alien, Pedro. Oh, Christian, that was you that suggested the shell script trick, wasn't it? On Twitter? Was that you? Pretty sure it was you. Anyway, yeah, that did the job nicely. I knew there'd be some kind of a trick to do it. I'm glad there was, because I really didn't want to have to rewrite the way I was invoking that script. Darius, good evening to you. At least the nice thing with these boards is, even if we have the situation where we can't repair the board, there is a chance that we can get the data off through the lifeboat or life raft connector. I always get it wrong no matter which way I say it. But hopefully we can do the full job and get a running machine. I prefer that myself as well, because then I can just send it back to the person and go, here you go, now you can remember to back it up this time before the damage occurs again. Yeah. For a small board, or a small computer, this has a surprising number of screws in it. There's a few tricky ones because they throw in your normal T5 screws and then they throw in a couple of T4s just to keep you on your toes. Yeah, Kristen, it was like I was starting to bring out the. I've got a really nice book on shell programming in the Unix environment, not Linux, but Unix. And I was starting to flip through that to see if I could find the answer for me. But I thought, you know what? Maybe I should exploit the brains of the internet, and I'm glad I did. So, yeah, that's going to go towards the build system I have for the new anti-piracy measures for Flexboard View. Okay, we need to heat up this connector here very gently. This is the Touch ID connector. It's bonded down onto the board in such a way that if you try to just disconnect it and lift it off, you will probably tear it. And I've seen my fair share of torn ones. This one's still actually stuck down a bit. Oh, here it comes. Sometimes the heat soak just takes a while to get through. At the same time, don't overcook it. If you use anything more than about 150, you're probably going to cook it and you end up deforming this plastic plate here, and you'll know you've deformed it because the nice sort of mottled matte display finish it has on it, it will become a gloss finish, and that's when you know you've stuffed up. Hey Mark, how's it going? How's things on your end, Mark? Tonight I'm trying to work out, I've got to go through the process now of automating the building and signing of the macOS version of my program. Now I already can do it, have been doing obviously for quite a while, but due to the new techniques that I'm incorporating, I now have to do the final stages on the Linux server that I have. And it can be done, but it's just a bit of a scripting nightmare. It just takes forever. But the nice thing is, once it's done, yeah, you can close it off and hopefully never have to look at it again. And yeah, I guess I'm a little... It is only sort of like 10:30, 11 at the moment. Please be some corrosion. Ah, yes, some corrosion. Sorry, that was a little excitable. I do apologise. My lighting seems a bit dimmer tonight. Must be because Caradog's here. And he's such a fickle, finicky person about lighting that my lights get shamed. Yeah, there we go. That'll do it. At least I hope that's all that we need. That's what I was hoping for, something like that. I need to increase the light here. Boonk. Okay, maximum light achieved. Hey, Mr. Miser. This one is surprisingly clean. Normally it is this one here, these two caps, they will get corroded out. But no, they're beautifully clear. Caradog, you know you can't help yourself. You just, in the back of your mind, you're looking at the lighting and you're like, I think Paul can do better here. And I'm like, yes, I agree, I can, but I'm happy that I've got at least two great big fat lights burning my retinas out, pointing at me, those spotlights, and then I've got the nice two above me panel lights that are helping, and then a backing light, and then just a normal room light. So I've got 4 or 5 lights on here. Hey Jason, this is your, who's this one for? This is your Mr. Sherman A1706. Caradog, don't you guys have just made plenty of content. You just released a video last night, 12 hours late, or 12 hours early, I don't know. Kind of shocked me when I saw it come up. I thought, that's a little weird, a bit of a strange time for them to be posting a video. You take no credit? You mean you take no credit for the mistake? You don't leave that squarely on Graham's feet. Okay, so we're just using 230, 240 here. Oh, this is nice. This is actually very easy to clear away sort of overfill, underfill. Normally it's a complete and utter train wreck to do it, but that one was very easy. Graham does the hard work, like sitting there telling you what to do. Come on, do the dirty. There we go. I'm not even going to try and recover that part. Now you're probably wondering why I'm doing it this way and not just using hot air. Well, it's because hot air is, you know, it comes with a slight risk of upsetting the 3215. I mean, it shouldn't. I'm still making a mockery of everything. Everything looks really ugly there, but it will clean up in a bit. Hey Nick Basie. Naturally the solder is on that. Always, no matter what you do, the solder ends up on the other side of the tip. It's like it's possessed. Well, I've got to take a quick run into Townsville in the next day or two because we've got to get supplies for the impending lot of kittens. We don't normally deal with kittens right from birth. Typically, we tend to get involved when it's more older cats, but you don't get to choose what turns up at your doorstep these very often, so we are going to have to go down and get some kitten stuff. Alright, so I need a cap and a resistor. I'll have a look at what they're going to be. What is this board? 239. I think the worst thing about when we're having to deal with these 923, typical there, as you know, at the end of the process, you're still going to be a really upset person because you have to say goodbye to them eventually. You know, you can't just keep them all as much as you want to. Let's see. That is an odd value. It's a 15k resistor. Not really sort of standard. It's not. That's not even the right. Ooh, is that? Sorry, please stand by while Paul resets his brain. There we go. 1 microfarad, 63201. One microfarad, 63201. Sincerely hoping this is going to be the limit of what we're going to have to do on this board. We could do with a couple of wins. 1 microfarad, 63201. Exact part required. Disgusting tweezers. It's like they've been picking around in my brains or something. Oh wow, that capacitor got chomped on the very end there. And I end up with 2, naturally. Hey Jessica Ryan. Right, now that we've got leaded solder down here, I can sort of come in with the hot air and give it a little bit of a warming over and it should be okay. Hey Falcon, nice to see you've landed. Don't know how many times you hear that joke every day. It's a bit like me with being referred to as the magician. It's like, yep, I get it guys, yep. Yeah, I'll just call Debbie and tell her how much I laughed at that one. Ah, cuck. Sorry folks. Yeah, so we need a 15k for here. If I can't find a 15k, I'll just have to donor board it. B-Blood, no, this is not yesterday's fiasco. Yesterday's fiasco is still on hold. A big problem with the fiasco from yesterday is that it ate up every single one except one of my CD3215s, and I had only just bought a couple of dozen of them. And so, yeah, another project had eaten up so many of them. And now this one's eaten up so many. It's... Oh, that's my 15-minute walk around. Hey, Micro. What are you doing? What you doing? Milo. You want to come inside? Do you want to come inside? Where's your brother? Hey, Micro. Baba. We're getting inside, are we? I would be very appreciative if you do. You can? No, I'm not going to walk at it. Papa. Good boy. Alright, I got lucky. Woohoo. Managed to... So normally if Micro gets outside, well if he's outside and he gets settled onto his favourite chair or something like that, it can be very difficult to get him to come in. like easily it can go to 2, 3 in the morning. And you might think, why don't you just pick him up and bring him in? It's like, believe me, I wish it was that easy. Micro is such a loving cat and everything like that, but if you try to pick him up, you better be prepared to do a lot of bleeding. I mean, every now and then I do have to grab him, and it's kind of like it's kind of akin to trying to grab a python, not a python, trying to grab any old snake, I should rather say. They're faster than you, they can hurt you, and you're more than likely going to get hurt and you're going to bleed. Yeah, cat cam, if only. Anyway, so I got lucky. Micro just happened to decide to wander into the house, and so I took the opportunity to just sort of coax him in and then close the door. Creature, put it this way, you probably don't have enough fingers and toes. Interesting, that resistor moves, but I think the other big problem with that one creature is that one is actually sitting on the ground plane. Because likewise, when I put it down, it was also like one side went good, the other side's like, yeah, I need a little more time. It's a combination. But yeah, I know. Tweezers can shadow the air a bit. Well, at this point, I guess we'll just see if it gives us 20 volts. Especially on these MacBooks, the ground plane is like all heat must go to the ground plane first. They've got tremendously good ground planes on MacBooks. Tremendously good, too good in some ways. On the upside, it means the whole board, while it does pick up in temperature, the overall average temperature drops pretty quick. I should say rather the local temperature drops pretty quick because it gets sucked off into all sorts of other areas. Alright, I'm just going to stop talking like that because I don't want to be demonetized and YouTube's stupid. Yeah, they very rarely have thermal reliefs. Every now and then there will be a little one, but certainly not enough to make an impact. Not for this sort of work anyway. Oh, we're going through this crap again. Yeah, here we go. No, we've still got a short sitting around here somewhere. Yep. Let's do something else that's decide to go funny, or honestly, yeah, feels like another short somewhere. Yeah, let's check out PB Bus. $4.90, that's pretty good. So we're going to go through, check the individuals, work our way from there. Could also be a problem with the CC1, CC2 lines. Damn it. Hopefully not, because that means pulling these C3215s off, which means this gets thrown into the back burner again. Okay. Okay, nothing around that one. Could be another one around here maybe. Or it could just be bad comms. You know, if the I2C lines are busted up or something. Oh, I gotta sneeze, I'm sorry. Frickin' hay fever. Anytime I go outside, it's like, hey Paul, guess what? It's hay fever time. It's like, you bastards. I try really hard not to take antihistamines because it gives the liver a bit of a kicking. But sometimes you just gotta. See any of this stuff? Nothing around here looks like it's. Yeah. I feel like I'm missing some corrosion somewhere, some obvious corrosion. I just sort of got too excited at the 3215s having corrosion. Yeah, that's just energy in the circuit running in the opposite direction of what my probes were. Because I basically did do my mistake of I sort of jumped into the first bit of corrosion I found rather than taking time to walk across the board and see what else was around. That's just me checking that the fuse is actually intact, not that it influences the situation. But it doesn't help. I mean, it doesn't help what? It doesn't hurt to do that check anyway. Maybe one of these are misbehaving, like I said, they always usually do. No, that one's fine. Nothing's squawking. Alright. I've had 2 bunnies. Wow. I remember you having bunnies before. Because that's not something we're allowed to have up here. They just simply breed far too prolifically. That said, cats aren't far off when it comes to breeding numbers. I mean, we could have a dodgy ISL. Hope not, because that's the 9239. And funnily enough, I've got plenty of 9240s, but 9239's sort of less common for me now. Mostly because you don't need them that often. I'm going to do that external pin diode mode checky because I'm lazy. I'm kind of hoping for a easy way out. Do they do rabbit desexing at the clinics, vet clinics? I imagine they would. Particularly the males, that's easy enough. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Probably 9 times out of 10, this doesn't pick up anything. Jim, I left that title just for you. Every day my hair gets washed, but by the end of the day like this, with all the thinking and everything else, it turns into a bit of a grease pit. Hey Mr. Tritz, welcome. Yeah, see, nothing beeps, nothing's out of spec. So what we're going to do is we'll look at the CC1-2 lines and the stuff that this doesn't seem to pick up because it's probably not exposed on the actual pins. Though it should be, CC1, CC2. Anyway, the point is I have found situations where CC1 or 2 are damaged or out of spec. Most of the times this tends to pick up stuff that you probably could visually pick up anyway. But if you're starting out, just like me, it helps. Yeah, it's currently 11:30 here. Okay, so I want the CC1-2s. Let's see, UV3100. Naturally, I have far out. I really got to sort my crap out. Okay, CC1. That's usually CC2 up here. So these we don't have to go out anymore because. Oh, thank you, Dragon. The Dumres. I got your message. Anyway, so we're going to test these 2 test points, and they should be around about 0.6 apiece, and we're going to do that with all the others too. It is a lot easier if you can work with test points. I'm genuinely disappointed that this didn't work out as easy as it looked. 0.6, 0.6, okay, so they're pretty much smack on correct. We'll go to the other side, and we're again CC2, look for the other one, I think that one. Okay, so it's just those two, CC1, CC2. Yeah, the numbers, I gotta get that. I guess I'm sort of busy with Flexboard View at the moment that I'm dropping everything else. It's almost there. God knows my wife can't wait for it to be over because anytime she comes to me for something, I'm like, programming. And she's like, stupid, good for nothing programming. So what programming ever do for me? She understands. Okay, CC1, where's CC2? Okay, so CC2. Five nine, that's good. The main thing is that they're pretty much identical now. Where does CC1 and 2? Oh, here they are, yep. Hey Toby, good evening. It's Rex, yep. Greasy bastard here. Oh shite, wrecking boards at the moment it seems. Yep, okay, so no trouble with the CC lines. Alright. Honestly, our low-hanging fruit is getting taken away from us at this point. So what we do now is we hand it off to someone else. Quite honestly, I do very frequently wish to do that. It's like, oh, I don't know, it's beyond me. It wasn't a simple job. I don't want to do it. It's not a simple job. I only want to spend 10 minutes on a job, get the money and walk away. Everyone else can deal with the complicated things. I will write the software, that will help you. And you guys can deal with the complicated ones, the ones that actually require thinking. I'll be happy to do the janitorial ones, okay? I think that's fair. I am the someone else. Ugh, yeah. Sadly, that's true, creature. It's interesting. There was a company that basically Apple directed people to for the repairs for data recovery here in Australia. And they started sending all their stuff to me, and I was like, okay, I can live with this. This is fine. But then slowly the jobs deteriorated in a very predictable manner. And basically what happened, or what was happening is they decided, you know what, we don't want to give Mr. Daniels the money anymore. We've got our own young and fresh and exciting people. They can do it now. And so they did. And yeah, the jobs, I went from something like 10 a week from this place to 0. And the ones that did turn up were ones that have been handled 2 or 3 times by someone else. Absolutely just, most boards, after they've been handled 2 or 3 times without success, start to look like a real dog's breakfast. And yeah, these were like a dog's breakfast thrown up twice. And I think it just, yeah, it was it's just the way nature of the business goes. You know. Usually, yeah, these people, they decide to have a shot at it themselves. No thanks to Mr. Rossman and his overly friendly type of approach of like, hey, anybody can do this. And you know what, it is true, anyone can, but nonetheless, it does still take money away from my pocket, and that makes me sad. I don't know, Tradie, there's some goddamn Sparky related stuff that drives me up the wall. I still believe there is something significantly wrong with the wiring in this house. Because we are, what the heck, 3.4? That's not a value you should be getting, really. 3.4, that's a little high. What is that? Yeah, this house guzzles an insane amount of power. And that's G3 hot. I should not be getting 3.4 on G3 hot. I mean, yeah, maybe, but it just seems a little out of spec. But Pedro, other people say that anybody can. And I get the intent. It's like, don't be scared of it, give it a shot. That's fine. But unfortunately, the takeaway that a lot of people have, or the wrong kind of people, is I can do it. I am a professional. I do know what I'm doing, even when they don't. And that's the problem. Let's see. Okay, 3.4. Yeah, on PP G3. It's a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit high. 3.35 is about where I would sort of say, you know what, this is getting a bit too much. Maybe 3.6, even, not 3.6. Anyway, I'm waffling as I try to find new 69 schematics. God damn it, why don't I have any favorites to find? Okay, the easiest way to find what I'm looking for is to search on the schematic for the battery connector. And on the page with the battery connector is always use 6903 or whatever it is that you need for this voltage. So 3V3, G3 hot. Yeah. And there it is there. So it just feels like that voltage is just a little bit high. And sometimes that's just paranoia, sometimes it's indicative of something going on. Everything looks really good there though. see, microscope. Yeah, tradie, that's one of the big reasons why I won't go anywhere too much near this stuff around here. But yeah, the wiring is pretty dodgy, and then of course, because it's dodgy in the way the house is designed, it therefore creates more dodgy issues later when you add things to the thing, like when we had solar installed. Geez, didn't we got a hell of a snooty sort of blowback from the solar people though, because I mean, I admit, okay, legally I was in the wrong sort of thing, but we tore down a dividing wall that I had put up about 20 years ago, and there was a couple of wiring looms in there for lights and stuff, and so I spooled them up and bagged them, obviously not according to the ADR rules or whatever, and they were in full visibility there, but when the Sparkies in here were trying to verify that the solar was all okay, the RCD test unit kept chucking a wobbly, and they were like, you know, who did this cable, who did this, who did that, and I'm like, oh, you know, I bagged them up. I'm sorry, you know, I didn't want dangling wires everywhere. They're like, you know, you should always get an electrician in to do this and all that. And I'm like, yeah, look, I understand. Yeah, I'm not an electrician myself, but I do understand. But in the end, it turns out the reason why the RCD tester was chucking a wobbly is because there were no RCDs in the switchboard for that for those net circuits. And once they realised that, they were like, "Oh, right, okay, that's why it's chucking a wobbly." So they replaced, you know, put some ground fault, whatever, in there, and all was good, and they were all happy again. But didn't appreciate them taking out their frustrations on me over that. And it's not like I've been going in there and splicing wires or putting hidden junction boxes anywhere and stuff like that, trying to get them killed. No, Jason, you're not being dissed. Not that I'm aware of. Are you being dissed? Alright. Well, we come back to the situation that I regularly visit, which is I don't like to step outside of the areas, particularly when it's a liquid damage. I don't like to step outside of the areas beyond where the damage itself is, because very rarely is there damage beyond those areas. I'm gonna have a look at that cap that I replaced. Anyway, so I can respect the electrician's frustration, but at the same time, I didn't really respect the way he just decided I was the one that was going to take the beating. Okay, so that's especially too that they knew I was did electronics work and stuff like that, so they could have just leveled with me slightly. Yeah, thing is, I suppose you know me, but even then, I wouldn't trust myself trade. I had to in the past do some sort of like replacing a panel in the middle of the night because of things that were happening, and I couldn't just isolate it like just a light switch. And I got to tell you know, I was double gloved, and I had my shoes on, and had my proper red-necked Stanley flat blade, all of that stuff. And fortunately, I lived apparently. But yeah, it's not really anything that I want to go near because you know I just don't feel sufficiently comfortable around it. I do watch a lot of Big Clive stuff just to try and educate myself a bit more, because there's a lot of subtle things, small things that you know when you're in the industry that you don't realize you know. Uh, okay, I'm gonna heat this up and I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. Ring circuits. No, we can do, I think. It depends. Yeah, you see, there, right there. There's something I don't know for sure. I mean, like, I know we have, say, you can have hallway arrays, arrays of switches that have got the nice little crossover in them, so that you can have as many as you like, and whatever state the circuit's in, if you flip any one of them, it'll switch it into the opposite state. That sort of stuff. Is that what you're meaning? Tradie will know. Do not buy pink stuff from China. I haven't seen that episode yet. I do believe I saw the thumbnail for it. Something exploded. Sounded exciting. I don't really watch Electro Boom. I've seen like a shorts video of, not a shorts video, just a summary video, and that was pretty funny. But beyond that, I don't really watch him. Nothing against the guy or anything. It's just not my kind of scene. Ah, please, I don't want this damn chip to be dodgy. I don't feel like it should be though. Oh, Tradie, I was able to switch it off at the. I was able to switch it off at the actual switchboard. I went out there and switched that off. But when I mean I couldn't isolate, it's like I couldn't. I needed the power on the rest of the circuit, and I knew it was the switch that was misbehaving by the terrible noises it was making, and I just wanted it swapped out so I can go back to sleep without the place catching on fire. Anyway, so that was fixed up. I'm staring at this looking for something to. There's no way I would work on a live circuit. Oh, hell no. No, thank you. Mark, what have you it's not good to hear that you're being unwell. Anything you can share, or are you like, hell no? Okay, I'm just going to pop that resistor up. Yeah, the 3.4 is a little weird. I just want to see if this resistor, there's a little bit of corrosion on the pad here. I want to make sure that the pad is actually good. Yeah, Australia and New Zealand basically do have the same standards as far as I know. I'm still going to always gripe about the fact that you can't actually anymore get, like, you can't get a TAFE or university, TAFE is more appropriate, and get even just a basic certificate for electrical work here. And geez, I remember as a kid, every time we'd blow a circuit, I'd be the one that'd have to go down, rewire the porcelain flippin' fuse holder. That's always fun. Under the house, in the dark, knocking your head on the flippin' the floor joists. It's like, yeah. Making sure you string up the right piece of wire and hope that you've actually got enough wire left on it, because you forgot to buy another spool of it, another card of fuse wire. Oh, you got a cold flu. Was it COVID? I'm pretty sure I had COVID the other month. It wasn't pleasant. What do you use as fuses to blow a bolt? Yeah, a bolt's good. It's a bit like also we're not allowed to touch the telecommunications wires, and I get that too, because if you miswire that stuff, you, at least back in the old days, well, it wouldn't necessarily kill you. The 48 volts coming, maybe sometimes 60 volts coming from the exchange. It would give you a good kick, but the more serious problem is just that you would disrupt the service of others probably. And that's something that I would definitely kick your ass for if you took the internet out. I guess it comes down to the fact that clearly humans are reliably stupid enough that you have to stop them doing anything, as a general rule. Paul Marrow, I sincerely hope not, because I actually don't really have any stock. I used them all up. It's probably the fastest I've ever used up all my CE3215s. Oops. I tried an idea circuit recently at a commercial premise to change their sign over. Attempted to post a video of me shorting out the 32. So how did that go? Was it illuminating? The worst I've ever done is taken out a dedicated UPS circuit for a server building, because this is in South Africa. Most of the cables we would get in South Africa were equipped with the UK connectors, or maybe the European 2-pin, the small 2-pin stuff. And so we would have to every now and then you just have to sit down and tape the cables, cut off the end. You have IEC on one end, and then you'd have this 2-pin European, or maybe UK, and you have to cut that off and then fit your South African massive, great big chunky connector on. Anyway, I just grabbed the wrong cable because I was too busy chatting up a hot woman who was helping me do this work, and I plunged my pocket knife straight through the cable, and it exploded into an expressive shower of sparks. And the power, because it was a UPS line, it's designed to try a lot harder not to go down, because all the servers are depending on it. So I ran off to the server room, the central one, to make sure the big AS400 system hadn't crashed them down, because otherwise that would probably be the end of my job. Fortunately I lived, the server lived, and my pocket knife to this day has this, in the blade, it's got this cutout where it basically just vaporized the metal. So I got lucky. Yep, great big arc. And I mean, the South African cables, I think they're 15 amp or 20 amp rated or something like that. They're ridiculously... The connectors on them, I think they're 5 or quarter inch round brass plug. It's just absurd how robust they are. Okay, this is really ticking me off. I don't know whether I've got a problem with... Maybe there's something here that I'm missing that it's telling me and I'm not listening to it. But like this back connector, it works fine. The front one, oh, it works fine now. Bastard. Now this is another flex. Anyway, I guess the takeaway from that for me was not to be distracted by attractive people while trying to do important work. Okay, oh, you're resetting now. Son of a bitch. Great, that one's resetting. The date was a success though. I dated that person for quite a long time thereafter until I left South Africa. That was actually quite difficult though, leaving the country. It was just sort of like, well, I've got to catch my plane. See ya. Starting to wonder whether this cable is just sort of like worn itself out. I mean, I cycle it so often. Mind you, you would think USB-C connectors would be rated for a few thousand cycles. Certainly a few hundred. Must have been a completely different person. Slightly different. I wouldn't say completely different, but slightly different. But then most of us are when we're young, aren't we? And then, yeah, you get older and responsibilities come. Okay, that 3.4 is very weird though. I really should not be seeing quite that level. I'll try it again, make sure it wasn't just a one-off. It's okay, creature, I know. You're quite right about that. They are invariably rated for basically no use at all. So you plug it in, they go, why would you want to unplug us now? Come on, we're plugged. Leave us alone. Okay, Paul. Take care. Thanks for dropping in. I'll see you around a bit more, eh? Yeah, 3.418. I don't know, it just feels a little too high. Okay, nothing coming on that side. I mean, 5. God damn it. I need a reference. Make sure my meter hasn't just gone wonky on me. Where is my reference supply? Oh geez, I've abused this thing something bad. Creature wants to see the schematics. Alright, creature. They can see the schematics. Once I bring them up. Yeah, so that's it. So you have your DC in, and then you have your PP bus coming in. So on these machines you usually have to bootstrap by plugging it in first, even after you've connected the battery. And then that's basically it. So if I was going to look at something, I might look at the feedback circuit and see if it's sort of gone out of whack with one of the resistors. I mean, I know on, say, what is it? On things like the A1706s, they are notorious. I shouldn't say notorious, but they do occasionally have issues where one of the resistors actually goes low, and you start getting 3.5, 3.6 on the 342 line. Sun Hoang. Yeah, we've already done all those checks and they've all come back good. So which is why I'm sitting here a bit perplexed. So I might test these resistors. And usually these are, I think, I don't know if we can actually, max 77596. Max. That's the other trouble, is a lot of these you can't even get the data sheet on. 77596. Yeah, okay. Let's see what its feedback voltage is expected as. Interesting though, look at that. It's got 3.5 to 2. Oh, that's input, right? Whoops, my bad. It's about to start cussing it out. Voltage feedback is 1 volt on this model. Okay, so we see if we've got 1 volt. Let's see if it's wiggled out of that or what's going on. Hey, Mr. Stomps. Okay, so our feedback point is pin 9, so we'll just take R6910. Defcon, what do you do with all your test gear? Or are you like me with MacBooks and you just start collecting them and it's like, I don't use them, but I can't throw them away. Okay, that's the side we want there. So that's the one we've got to check for 1 volt. Okay, well, I'm glad to see I'm not the only one that suffers that issue, as it were. Because, yeah, I've got a whole lot of MacBooks and I'm like, you know, one day I might, it's like you never do use them. And you don't sell them. And the reason why I don't sell them is because I'm like, yeah, there might be a bug in there and I don't want to have to deal with a customer who's cranky because I sold them a machine that has a bug in it, stuff like that. And it's like, 101, so, that feedback voltage is smack on. That's good enough, considering this is probably a 1% tolerance part. So it slightly baffles me that I got 342. It sort of infers that maybe there's actually not enough load on this output. And so because of the lack of load, it can't, it doesn't have enough to sort of like constrain the output. So even when it's down at its minimum PWM rate, it just keeps like overshooting. Okay, could be. I'm not saying it is. 337. That's actually. Let's see. Now that's pretty much smack on. 3.5, 337. With diode mode measurements, realistically, the first digit is about as good as you're going to get. Consider it maybe a 1.5 digit source of accuracy. Anything outside of that, you're just blowing smoke up your own ass, trying to think you're going to get more precise than that. Hey Gustavo, welcome. Any tips on where to learn how to use Linux drivers? Your Compass Switch project looks like the best option how to learn to use the I2C protocol. There are a couple of nice AVR I2C projects that you can get, so that will let you plug into the Linux, just into a USB port, and then you'll get I2C lines out. But of course, Linux itself, of course, you can access the internal I2C as well. But I forget what it is. I don't use it anymore because I've converted to now using the serial port communications rather than the I2C. It's just easier in terms of cabling for me. I can just plug in a nice USB mini cable rather than having to route a bunch of fine 28 gauge wires around the place. Hey Vladimir, welcome. Have you considered a multimeter that can show scope display for reveal? Yeah, well, it kind of like I have with my USB-C meter. Something like, 100 samples per second might show that up. Tradie Trev, you're trying to avoid going to Handfest. I can appreciate that. I remember when I was over, and everything goes back to South Africa for me, doesn't it? I remember being over there and we were doing AX25. I'm pretty sure it was AX25, packetized ham radio communications. Slow as, but it did work. And in the end, that's what matters. Yeah, so I don't know whether this. Yeah, and I guess what I'm sort of thinking of is if this 3 point. What have we got? 3.4, 3. Whatever. If it's too high, then there are various chips on that bus, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to double check, but I haven't looked. That normally you sort of anticipate them there to be their supervisory chips. You expect them more to handle things like don't turn on until the voltage rises up and stabilizes. But it also works the other way. If it's too high, then they'll also clamp you out. Hey Corey, South Africa is to me what the Philippines is to when I was young and still yearning to live in the retirement. Oh yeah, I'm very much done with South Africa. Sadly, it hasn't really improved since I left. They thought it would, but it didn't. So I might just put this on the burner because, quite frankly, I really am grievously disinclined to. Yeah. Okay, I didn't see that before. Is that just a bit of an unfortunate blob of flux that we spilt? I think it is. It's just a splatter. Yeah, it's soft. It could be the ISL. I'm sort of disinclined to take that route. ISL on MacBooks is kind of like the TriStar on iPhones. People just love to swap that thing, thinking it's going to be a universal fix. It's also kind of like reprogramming the BIOS for PC people. So program the BIOS, it'll fix everything. It's like, yeah, it does fix things occasionally, but certainly a lot less often than what you seem to think it will. Yeah, if something was crowbarring, I would definitely see more of a significant shutdown. What this can be is the supervisory chip will just simply, it won't send on the enable signal. So I'm just going to check around here. This is Piccolo, which controls the SSD power, and sometimes it takes a hit and shorts one of its lines out, which then causes everything to shut down. And if it's not that, then I'm going to go. Yeah, that got me for about 0.2 of a second. I've seen some poor bastards, not mentioning myself, who get caught out thinking that's a short because they don't hold it down long enough. And so they just hear the beep and they're like, I found the short! And they go and tear up the whole circuit and find out there was nothing actually wrong with it. That's why you got to look up at the multimeter and see what the resistance value is doing. If it's moving rapidly, then you're just dealing with residual charge in the circuit. Trader, I wish they were easier because quite frankly I'm not making effort for income. It's not really a good ratio at the moment. Alright, so we're going to do the 20 volt thing. And the only trouble is, again, I have not taken the time to actually update this. In fact, yeah, this might work. Okay, so we'll go for this sequence. So we need to plug it into U3200, which of course naturally is on the other side. Flippity flip. Come on. The big thing I find as quite dangerous with this sort of repair work is that if you haven't solved it in the next sort of in the first half an hour, or if you haven't got a clear lead on what you're chasing, then it's very rapidly a case of diminishing returns on average. So you sort of realistically need to go, you know what, clearly I'm not smart enough to find this one. Box it up, send it back, let someone else deal with it. Because someone else might just happen to have that little bit of experience in that area that you didn't have, which you probably should have had, but anyway, you didn't have. And they can find it in a jiffy. Whereas you just run around like a blind moron for weeks instead. Okay, so we're plugged in. I've got to make sure I've got 3200. Switch to voltage mode on the meter. Have you checked PP1V8 audio? I believe I have, yes. Yeah, Jason, pay me in yuan. They'll give me much bigger numbers on the invoice, won't it? But not really return of actual income. Probe stuck in the finger. Fantastic. That's how you know they're sharp. Okay, first thing we're going to do is make sure we actually are getting voltage into this section and we're not the other one. Okay, it's the other one. With the CD3217s, funnily enough, it doesn't matter which one you put it in. They show voltage on all areas. Okay, 5-1. Oh, did you just cycle? Ah, great. The bastard's cycling. This is going to be another one of those 4 CD3215 swap jobs. Honestly, Jason, can I just take the data off this and walk away from it? Alright, anyway, we'll continue on with the voltage. We'll just have to obviously be mindful that it is cycling. It's definitely running high on those voltages. The 1.8 is dead on. 1.8 is, you know, down to the millivolt pretty much. The 1.799, I mean, you can't argue with that. Yeah, 11's right. Seven three, 7.6. That's okay for the gate drive. That's fine. And this is up here. So what are we expecting here? 3v3. What? No, we shouldn't be seeing 3. Sure. 4.8's. That's a strange number. 4.87. Oh, maybe it's not actually. No, because it'll be 5 volts on this side. Maybe not that one, but this one. Yeah, 5.18 and then over the diode. Yeah, okay, that's fine. No, I was being silly. Hey, Mr. Muhammad, good evening. The bus maybe jumping. Probably not in this case. I mean, having the CD3215s do that cycle is a known thing, but it's not explicitly known why. Often it indicates that that CD3215 is dodgy, but not always. That's the problem. Hey, Lamine, Laida. Anthony McGregor. I don't like to take the scope out, no. It's a cumbersome thing, even in its compact form. It's like, I feel like if I have to bring the scope out, I'm a failure. 5.14. failure. And then that's when I acquire emotional damage. Let's see if this cycles. Yep, that does too. Okay, that's the enable line. That's interesting. It's sitting at 5 volts. I might have been guessing about that one. 10 enable. PM enable 3v3 G3 hot. There's nothing to say that that should be 3 or anything. That's why you need a multimeter with a scope on it. Yeah, I guess. Also needs to be magically very small. Yeah. We have to accept the limitations that we have. Yeah, seriously, that's not trying to become 3v42. Okay, I'm going to test those resistors. The reason being is, okay, we're getting the 1 volt correctly on that feedback, which is what we should be getting. But it's not to say that the resistors haven't gone wonky. Because it's all, no matter what those resistors are, if the chip is working properly, it will ensure that that feedback voltage is 1 volt. So we actually need to shift them all and have a look and see what they are. Can you do the method of just removing the chip? Fortunately, with this board, I can. I'll show you. This thing here, this connector, it looks like just a cover plate, but it's not. It actually connects left to right, left to right. When you take that away, it separates the SSD side from the PCH side, and then you can plug in a recovery tool, which takes place of the PCH and allows you to access the solid state drive directly. So on these models you can do it. On subsequent models of the T2 you cannot, because of the way that the encryption is done. It's basically Apple's way of giving the big fat finger to various 3-letter agencies in the government, because the government pressured Apple over a few things. And I think Apple said, you know what, we never want to have to deal with that again, so we're going to put extra effort into making sure that even we can't do anything about it. Hey, Sudi. Hey, Keith, good to see you made it this time. I'm kind of hitting this a little hard. I probably shouldn't be doing 470. So yeah, basically the whole idea is now that there's no way for any various 3-letter agencies to approach Apple and strong-arm them into doing something. Instead, now they've got to go off to other companies and say, hey, have you found a way around Apple's bullshit? And Apple gets left alone and they're happy. Okay, so 6913 should be 147, so 1.47k for this one. And that's smack on. These are 1% metal film resistors, so yeah, 1%'s pretty big range these days. Let's see, the next one is 47k. 46.9, that's within the 1% range. And particularly too, though, it's 46.95. It's, yeah, slightly low, but not massively. but the cap is bad. We'll see, creature, we'll see. 6910 is 115k. Yeah, it's wiggling around because I'm being the wiggle man. Wiggle, wiggle. Actually, no, I'm not a wiggles. 114.9, 114.8, that's fine. 6912, this should be a 10 ohm resistor. It's not really going to have any influence on the feedback circuit, but it's just more a current limiter. And it's smack on 10 ohms. Damien, if you're going to get a microscope, if you can afford it, get one of the optical dual boom stand ones. It's more upfront expense, but believe me, in the long run you appreciate it. I mean, that's pretty much true of most industries, isn't it? You pay a bit more upfront, but the tools last you a lot longer overall. Diode mode of the cap should test 1 milliamp threshold. We can try that. Not sure what the spec on this particular meter is, but we'll see. Open circuit. Fully open. Change all the wire around position. Oh god. Yeah. Big fat 1 watt wire wound, hand trimmed. Thank God for laser trimming these days. To be fair though, creature, this diode mode on this meter does not go very high. One of my previous meters, my ProTech, the one that I had for when we used to do all the modelling work, that had a really nice 20 volt diode mode. But this one is, I think, only about a 3 or 5 volt diode mode. So it doesn't really test things quite as well. Okay, Mr. Daniels, just walk away. Ah, flippin' heck. Just put the hot air right across my thumb. There's obviously too much solder on that bottom one. Well, we'll see how it behaves now, creature, because you're being cooked off like this, so it's going to be at a high temperature. It'll be interesting to see how that voltage is drifted. Although I will cool it off a little bit. It's asking a bit much to expect the board to run straight after that kind of heat. Just looking at the circuit now a bit more. Because normally with these regulated, the other problem could be with the boost circuit. No, it wouldn't be the boost. Usually if you have problems with the boost cap, you typically don't see as much voltage coming through because the resistance kicks in too much. The other possibility is the bias cap, but check the AC noise. Jeez, what do you think I've got fancy equipment here? 342. It's running like a freaking MagSafe. AC noise. Ah, geez, I can't even actually do this. Pause. Switch off local. Am I paused? I don't mean the stream, I mean, the meter is not paused. Okay, now it's paused. Right. I don't think this meter really has a very good noise capability. We'll see. Actually, that's pretty crazy. I'm on AC voltage right now. But it could be coming back to the whole fact that it feels like it's behaving like it doesn't have a reasonable load. And we're registering nearly 0.7 volts AC on that rail. That's kind of high. We'll check with something that's more DC and see if we're getting the same. It could just simply picking up from the cables here. Yeah, this is for the DC input from the USB-C plug. That's that's more what you expect. Just give me a moment, you little annoying people. Okay, so we got very little on going into the regulator, but yeah, certainly a lot on the out. Geez, Paul, switch it over to a fixed mode. Range. Weird. Okay, 5 volt. What? Okay, so I've just set it to a fixed range, 5 volts AC range, and on one end of that inductor, we've got 0.7 on the other side. .3. So it's definitely on the output side. It's really just all over the place, as you would sort of expect, but not that severe. Alright, tell you what, for you annoying people, I'm going to bust out the scope. By the way, this is my voltage reference box, and unfortunately I do not have a 9-volt battery in there. But in here are a bunch of voltage references that I got from Maxim and Linear Tech, and I think it's 1.8, 2.5, oh no, 2 or 2.5, 3 and 5, and yeah, I need to be a little nicer to this box because it is an important reference, but I rarely use it. I gotta find the multimeter. I mean, not the multimeter, the scope. It's not the easiest thing to find around here, you know. People make seem like I actually know what I'm doing. Hey, Greg. Nah. It's okay, the protective film is permanently stuck on this because the dimwits didn't peel it off before they put the front bezel on. And so now it's never going to come off. So I'll forever have a screen protector on it. I just wish that they had made it that the IEC connector was on this side, because then you could do this and put it flat like that. I suppose the way around it for me is to find a right angle one. Not really a normal right angle one, this is more like, yeah. But if I find a IEC cable that would go around the corner, that'd be nice. Yeah, see, because it just doesn't quite... See Trey Trev having a heart attack there. It's like, dear God, man, the bend radius on that thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd agree that the scope is a better multimeter. I'd say it's a different multimeter. Better is, yeah, not a word I'd use. It has its pros and it has its cons. It can also be extremely misleading. A scope shows you all the things that can make you run down rabbit holes. Yeah, it does have a USB interface on the back, and again they have made it so it's actually right on the back, so I can't lay it flat. My first scopes that I ever used was probably back in 1986 or something like that. 1988 probably. And there was some Dick Smith Electronics 20 megahertz ones, and then someone let me use their 40 megahertz one from some other company. I can't remember what it was. I was too young and dumb. Didn't know what I was looking at. God damn it, I don't have a grounding point. We'll just use this over here. Should be good enough. These have not been tuned. Yeah, I haven't trimmed them or anything. So expect the unexpected. Especially when it's not plugged in. Tektronix is the brand I was thinking of. I'm pretty sure it was a Tektronix I had. Yeah, it looks like you need a bit of tilt there to see this. Let me just try and provide you some tilt. How's that? That looks better. Okay, so this is coming out of the scope, out of the... That's pretty freaking messy. What have we got? Peak to peak is 7.8 volts. 3.6 is the average. That's pretty freaking gnarly. Let's see if we can get the trigger to settle it down. Probably not. Go the other way, the other way. There we go. And then get some more images in there. That is all over the place. Now this is directly after the inductor. So I'm measuring right here. At least I'm pretty sure it's that one. Let me measure it somewhere definitely that I know will. So just find a big fat cap, not there. There. Wrong side. Okay, no, I was on the wrong side. Okay, anyway. Okay, this will be on the output side now. When I switch back. How about above? There we go. This will be on the output side. So it looks like it was the input I was looking at. And I think I just see a puffed up cap there. Okay, that's the output. There you go. 3.44. Well, it's a lot cleaner. But it is definitely high. And I don't know why. I can just replace the regulator chip itself. Often that's what simpletons like. What the hell? Crazy noises going on around this place. Switch the cap on the feedback. Okay, alright, I'll do that. Anyway, there you go. You should all be happy for another year now. Scope came out. I realise it's not the world's greatest scope. In fact, it's probably not even that great at all, but it is a scope and it does give you at least enough information to get yourself into strife. So we're going to go for the creature suggestion here. Now, creature, what's going to happen if nothing changes? So, what are you going to pay us if nothing... If your suggestion does not fix the board, how are you going to compensate me? Oh look, there's a thermal relief there. A big beer. I don't even like beer. But yeah, you're right, creature. I mean, look, most of the time, look, no relief, no relief, no relief, no relief, no relief. It's just... Yeah, they seem to only put reliefs on the O2. What the heck is banging on the goddamn air conditioner? My wife comes in here and tells me off about the banging on the air conditioner. You're all going to be in strife. I will have to have a look though. Would that be debatable though? What if you've got a scope that's bleeding through all of its internal AC noise into every signal you look at? I suppose you'd say every any scope that actually works as it should. Hey, Patibunza. I just realised I'm actually still on AC mode here, so I'm going to have to change that back. Actually, I didn't need to pause, I just send the command. There we go. Okay, here we go. Still 3.41. Creature loses, owes me a beer. Alright, so now at this point we will pointlessly remove the regulator itself. And I do say pointlessly because it will be pointless. Is that a... what is that? Ah, it's just been junk. I thought it was a burn mark through a track. I am sensitive about these 3.3 volt rails, that, like this particular one, because of the fact that many a time on things like a 1466s, your 3v3 RTC line or your 3v42 line, if they have drifted out by, you know, around about that sort of level, it's usually either a symptom of something that's going on the board, or they are themselves faulty. And so, you know, it's something I look out for. Oh, look at all that. I could squeeze that out for you, creature. Do you want me to squeeze that out for you? Yeah, I don't drink beer. Ach, you really ripped the pads off. Bravo, that would have been spectacular. See, the trouble for Creature here is that he's used to dealing with extreme high precision gear and, you know... What the hell? Stuff's just happening all around here and I don't know what's going on. I don't know whether I've got a poltergeist or what. And I've got a blob that doesn't want to sit on my soldering tip. If I have to drink alcohol these days, which, like I said, I basically don't. Gee, this looks like this has been replaced with... no, it hasn't actually. I'm trying to think. If I have to drink something straight, like a spirit, I'll probably have something like Glenfiddich. Although, give me a nice tasty schnapps, maybe. Personally, I'm more into the fortified wines. Tokay's not too bad. But, like I said, I really don't have any sense or desire to have that anymore. Which makes me wonder why I'm still actually broke, because I don't smoke, I don't drink. To be fair, we've got a squillion kitty cats, so that's probably where all our money goes. Jägermeister? Oh hell no. Jason, no, last night's boards, I've run out of CD3215s. I had a whole heap of them at the start of last week, now I've got basically none. I got one left. So I've got a few checks I'm going to do on all the rails around the 3215s. Yeah. Okay, we're fully expecting nothing to have changed. And certainly nothing on that's changed. 3.41. I don't get it. No. Well, it's midnight. Another dud. The fact that it's cycling like that probably is another 3215 issue. But like I said, the pain is that in these boards you end up basically having to take all four off, all in one hit, replace them, and then the risk is that, remember, you're replacing them with chips that are being pulled from another board and reballed. So you've got a 25% chance that, at least, that you're going to have, 25% chance that you're going to have one dead. At least, yeah. So it gets difficult, particularly with these sort of boards where you do have the option to get the data off. But they are nice machines. The 1706 is a nice machine, so they are worth repairing if you can. But when you get the ones with this underfill, it's painful. Like I said, and it would be a lot easier if we could find a way to isolate the left and the right. So it'd be nice if you could sort of go, you know what, let's just take both the CD3215s off one side and we'll start by getting this other side working by just two 3215s. But at the moment we can't really do that. We know it can work in some ways because the left and the right side, they're paired to, like the two chips on one side are paired to each other. So you have your primary and you have your secondary, and they don't really care about the ones on the other side per se. But because of the way the firmware or something is set up, it looks for all four of them and it won't fire up unless all four are present. But there's got to be a way that you can run just two of them. But yeah, so if I had a large number of 3215s, I would dig into this. But for now, this is going to have to go with the other one and just wait until I can come up with a new set of tests or something to try and diagnose what's going on. I should offer up as a bounty, a couple of $100 bounty, if someone can come up with a reasonably good non-destructive way of simply making it work from one side or the other, if the other side's not populated. It's probably going to have to just be a case, I shouldn't say just, but it may be a case of running a different firmware in maybe the Thunderbolt chip or something like that. I know Rob Brown and I were looking at it about a year ago, trying to work it out. We were trying to map out the circuit and see what the link is between them that joins them together. But we both got occupied with other things in life, so we didn't quite finish that project. But if anyone out there wants to try, if you want to try and invent a way that you can do one side independent of the other, then I will give you money. I will give you a couple $100 US if you can come up with a way to do that without butchering the board. It's got to be a way where you can just sort of like shift a resistor or flash the Thunderbolt firmware, on the little the one I'm talking about, the little tiny ROM chip. Yeah, if you can come up with a simple way like that, I will give you a couple $100 US. It's up to you. See if you can work it out. I'm out of here. I'm going to go do some programming, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.